Toronto Raptors have made multiple moves this afternoon, one of which is very interesting for facilitating other transactions, as this has serious implications in terms of what the Raptors cap situation is like, how they can facilitate more free agent signings, and how it affects some of the non-guaranteed contracts out here on the roster. And frankly, I was fairly surprised with the second update. The first one, I'm very happy with Jamison Battle coming back on a full-time guaranteed contract, but we'll break down both of these moves out here in this video, how it impacts the Toronto Raptors rest of the offseason, what to look for in Summer League now in terms of the internal competition, and frankly, why this probably makes sense for this team. So lots of stuff to break down in this video, but folks, you guys have been crushing it, hitting that subscribe button as of late, and we are on that road to 40,000 subscribers. So make sure you guys, if you're watching all of the daily videos, you're tuning all the vids, it's free. Hit that button down below and you won't miss a single thing that's going on with this Toronto Raptors team. But Summer League is starting tomorrow, and we have a lot of stuff to cover in terms of roster transactions and what we should be looking out for this young core group we have on this team. And Bobby Webster's making some decisions leading to Summer League as well, as news came out officially today that Jameson Battle's contract has been fully guaranteed, securing his spot on the Raptors roster as a shooting specialist ahead of the 2025-2026 NBA season. Now, this is something that I expected, barring any, big fish blockbuster trade that really shocked up the roster. We had too many guys coming in, whatever it was. Masai Ujiri is no longer with the team, but there was a lot of rumors about moves and trades going down. I expected, most Raptors fans expected Jamison Battle to have his contract guaranteed because, frankly, this man is a three-point sniper, an NBA that really values three-point shooting. Averaged 7 points per game last season, 3 rebounds, and shot 41% from the three-point line and shot 41% out there in corner threes. Just 24 years old, was an undrafted free agent gem last offseason, an absolute snipe by the Toronto Raptors front office to bring him in as such an elite sharpshooter out there on the wings for this Raptors group at 6'7", and hustled on the defensive end. I thought Jameson Battle, of course, he's not going to be accused of being an elite defensive stopper night in, night out, but I thought he provided the right amount of hustle on the court, improvement on that end of the floor, and then, of course, offensively complements guys like Scottie Barnes, Brandon Ingram, RJ Barrett, whoever's going to be out there playing with. He complements them very, very well. As he spaces the floor, he makes good passes, doesn't hoist up bad shots, but is not afraid to let the ball fly with his elite shooting stroke. So, good stuff on Jameson Battle getting his contract guaranteed, and this is something that I expected. Now, pretty well a lot of people expected just how valuable Jameson Battle is, but that would have led the Toronto Raptors to be in a bit of a weird salary situation, as they would have had their roster completely filled in terms of full-time guaranteed spots out here on this group. And with 2 draft selections, usually, early second-round picks, especially in Toronto Raptors history, as, Wells, of course, our number 9 overall pick in CMB, these guys were expected to be full-time roster spots, roster players. We knew Alijah Martin was certainly going to get a contract with the Toronto Raptors after being selected so high in the second round, but to a lot of people's surprise, didn't get the contract that, a lot of people were kind of expecting when he was taken at his current draft position. As news came out that the Raptors have signed 39th overall pick Alijah Martin to a 2-way contract. He'll fill their third 2-way spot out there on the team, which opened up when they waived injured Jared Rhoden earlier this month. Oler Shamshay as well as Chucky Hepburn are the team's other 2-way contracts. So the Raptors now have all of their 2-way contracts filled up heading into Summer League, which makes things a little bit less juicy for a lot of the fringe guys out there on this group, including guys like Omarui and all these types of players. So that leaves things to one open roster spot, but that makes the Toronto Raptors a lot more flexible in terms of the moves that they can do with this signing. Now, I'll keep it on Alijah Martin first because we covered him when he was actually drafted by the Toronto Raptors. I thought it was a very, very nice acquisition, a nice find, a nice snipe out there in the second round because he's a winner, he's intense, he plays great defense, and, out there, let's make this bigger so we can all see it. He's a 6'2" guard, 185 pounds, super, super athletic, and, in terms of overall stats last season, in Florida, 14 points per game, averaged 4.5 rebounds, 2.2 assists, and on top of it, while being an athletic phenom, the guy shot very, very solid from the three-point line. 35% from the three, over the course of his college career was a sustainable, really solid three-point shooter. He knocks down his free throws. Those improved over his last 3 seasons. Alijah Martin was a very nice acquisition. So for him to land a 2-way contract is fairly interesting, but what this signals to me is that the Raptors have someone in mind. They have a plan in mind in terms of filling that final roster spot with two names that are most likely to land it. Of course, there are some opportunities for guys in Summer League as well, but the two most likely players to land this spot are already under contract for the Toronto Raptors on non-guaranteed deals. You see them at the kind of middle bottom of this group. AJ Lawson as well as Colin Castleton, as their contracts were partially, semi-whatever, non-guaranteed going into next season. And both those guys had some moments of the Toronto Raptors last year. So AJ Lawson is a guy that I was very, very fond of in terms of what he was able to provide in the back half of last season, averaging 9 points per game, 3.3 rebounds, 1.2 assists. The percentages aren't great, but he had some nights where he absolutely exploded from the three-point line, played with a lot of defensive intensity, and has had some moments across his NBA career where he's shown flashes of a very, very highly valuable role player out there in the NBA. So also Canadian as well, so the biases are going to be for AJ Lawson on top of it. But, so you have AJ Lawson as well as Colin Castleton, who for the Toronto Raptors last season averaged 5 points per game, 5 rebounds, 1 assist. He took a couple threes, which is interesting. Not a high volume by any stretch of the imagination, but he did take a couple to at least, indicate that he's capable of shooting it out from that range. Again, super young as well, 25 years old, 6'11", a guy that blocks shots, is a solid rim protector, a bit thin out there at the front lines, but allows him to be mobile and be effective in different areas out there on the court. So Castleton and AJ Lawson are the two guys that are on non-guaranteed contracts here right now and are probably the favorites to land that final roster spot if the Raptors do go in that direction. Now, they can bring in someone, in terms of their cap situation, in terms of what they have on the go. They're really, really close out there to that tax. So bringing in one of those guys does have some implications in terms of how the tax is going to look for this Toronto Raptors group. But basically, you can easily slide them into the final roster spot, bring someone in the minimum, and still be fine. Now, there's a chance the Toronto Raptors go into this season with 14 guys, over the offseason, over training camp, over summer league, or whatever they're scouting and reviewing and stuff. AJ Lawson and Castleton don't take their games to the next level, or don't impress Bobby Webster in this new era of front office management, but now there are more options and more types of contracts available for these different guys that probably wouldn't be, in the mix out there for a two-way spot. So that is what the roster is looking. It's, interesting that Alijah Martin got the short end of the stick, getting that two-way position, but that screams to me that he might be more of a development project, or I don't really know. But last season, and the Shead heads will know this, that he was, Jamal Shead ended up forcing his way to the Toronto Raptors because the Raptors were going to offer him a guaranteed roster spot with the 45th overall selection in the NBA draft. So if Shead was given that guaranteed contract, a lot of people expected Alijah Martin to be fit into that group as well, but that did not end up being the case. Interesting turn of events for Bobby Webster. We'll see how things shake out with those final roster spots, and will certainly be a story that we will be looking at over the course of Summer League. So let me know what you guys think about all of this in the comment section down below. Are you happy with these moves the Toronto Raptors made? Leave a comment. Anyways, you guys are the best. I'm signing out. Cheers.